7 a.m.
At least 120 dead in the crash of a hijacked Chinese jetliner. Germans begin unity celebration with just hours left. South African Zulu chief says no to peace talks. Good morning. Bill Lynch with the CBS World News Roundup. A hijacked Chinese jetliner today crashed as it tried to land at Canton's International Airport. At least 120 people were killed. One American woman on another plane was injured. There are conflicting reports about whether a bomb was involved. CBS News correspondent Bruce Dunning reports.
The Chinese airliner with 104 people aboard was a half hour from landing at Canton's White Cloud Airport when pilots radioed that hijackers had taken over the plane. Canton Airport braced for an emergency landing, a landing that turned into a flaming nightmare. According to sources in the city, the hijacked plane careened out of control as it landed. American sources explain that the pilots apparently tried to get the plane back into the air to avoid a row of parked aircraft. As it rose from the ground, the plane bounced off an empty Boeing 707, then spun over a Boeing 757 that was waiting for takeoff with about 200 people aboard. The hijacked plane ripped off part of the 757's roof, causing that plane to collapse. The hijacked plane flipped over, landed upside down, and exploded in what witnesses called a fireball. Bruce Dunning, CBS News, Beijing.
The dawn of a united Germany with many problems, but even more promise and power is just 9 hours away. CBS News correspondent Peter Van Zandt is in Berlin.
West and East Germany took another step toward reunification this morning when the wartime allies, the United States, Britain, and France, symbolically ended their control of Berlin. Since the end of World War II, the Allies have had sovereignty over the city. At a special ceremony, U.S. Army General Raymond Haddock praised the new German nation.
With the citizens of Berlin and Germany, we share the great joy of unification taking place in peace and freedom.
Germans will officially take control of their new capital city at midnight. There is growing concern that violence may mar tonight's reunification ceremonies. Overnight, bombs were exploded in both East and West Berlin, damaging 2 department stores. No one was injured, but officials are worried the bombings may be a prelude to more trouble tonight. More than 1 million people are expected to surround the Brandenburg Gate tonight to celebrate the rebirth of their nation. Officials are particularly worried about East German extremists because police authority there has crumbled in the run-up to reunification. Peter Van Zandt, CBS News, Berlin.
The Persian Gulf crisis today enters its 3rd month with no sign of a quick end, and no one sure war can be avoided. Military sources in Saudi Arabia now say half of Iraq's million-man army is deployed in or near Kuwait. The Senate votes this afternoon on a resolution supporting President Bush's moves in the crisis, with the emphasis on diplomacy. The House has passed a similar measure, 380 to 29. The U.S. aircraft carrier Independence entered the Persian Gulf today, putting its 70 warplanes that much closer to Iraq. 2 other U.S. carriers are in the region. A pro-Iraqi group has claimed responsibility for last week's grenade attack in Djibouti, which killed a French child. Paris had warned France would retaliate if Iraq was linked to that incident. In Jerusalem this morning, a technical snafu put thousands on edge. Air raid sirens went off at about 9 a.m., and as Lawrence Rifkin reports, the government acted to avoid panic.
Radio stations quickly calmed jittery nerves in Jerusalem by reporting that the air raid sirens which went off were the result of a technical glitch and were not warning of an attack by Saddam Hussein. Just last night, Israelis were told they'd be receiving gas masks in case the Iraqi president did follow through on his threats to strike at Israel with chemical weapons. This announcement was met with mixed reaction.
I feel very comfortable with the decision.
Everyone, I think, expected this.
I think it's creating a bit of panic within the society.
The Army says it's going to start issuing the gas masks next week in an operation which should be completed by next month. Lawrence Rifkin, CBS News, Jerusalem.
In bloody Lebanon, another massacre. 30 dead, 100 wounded. This time, the victims were supporters of rebel Christian General Michel Aoun, mowed down at a candlelight rally. Aoun blamed the Lebanese forces militia. The African National Congress says South African Zulu leader Mangosuthu Buthelezi has declined an invitation to join other black leaders for peace talks. Buthelezi says he doesn't like the format. It's 7:04.
Thinking about what to serve for dinner tonight? Think about Hillshire Farms smoked sausage.
Think about fast. Think about good. Think about fast, delicious ways that you could serve it up Hillshire Farm. Think about it tonight.
Hillshire Farm smoked sausage gives you fast, delicious meal solutions, like smoked sausage and vegetable stir-fry. Just slice smoked sausage and your favorite vegetables like broccoli and carrots, saute them lightly and serve over hot, fluffy rice. You can make this delicious dinner in just minutes. So if you're looking for fast, delicious meal solutions, think about Hillshire Farm tonight.
Hillshire Farm. Think about it tonight.
Look for that special Hillshire Farm display in the meat department of all Northern California Safeway stores. KCBS News Time, 7:06.
The new budget package with its $134 billion in new taxes is proving to be an election year tar baby on Capitol Hill. Rob Armstrong reports.
The budget compromise is generating an intense lobbying campaign. The White House is jawboning Republicans, Budget Director Richard Darman.
We need all the help we can get. This is a tough job, and we're going to put on a full-court press, as they say in basketball. It is tough, but we're going to try to get it done.
Lobbyists opposed to the deal, from senior citizens groups to the pleasure boat industry, hit Capitol Hill like shock troops. Hostile congressional fire came from all quarters. Some Democrats were fuming over the proposed increase in Medicare premiums. Some Republicans were outraged at the tax increases in the package. GOP Congressman Dan Burton of Indiana.
The fact of the matter is, this is a disaster for the American economy, one that should be shelved.
Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter of California.
I think the Democrats basically extorted the president into accepting a recession package. That's precisely what it is, and we should vote it down.
While there is significant opposition to the budget compromise, House Speaker Thomas Foley and Senate GOP leader Bob Dole both predicted publicly that in the end it will be approved. Rob Armstrong, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
This was a record trading day on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, with the Nikkei average soaring over 2,600 points. That's a gain of 13% of the market's value. The rally followed confidence-building measures announced by Japan's finance ministry. On Wall Street at this hour, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is ahead 22.03 at 2537.87 on big board volume of over 45 million shares. The price of gold fell more than $6 an ounce in Europe today after tumbling $16 in New York yesterday. The dollar strengthened. A tractor-trailer plowed into a Greyhound bus parked alongside I-65 in Nashville this morning, leaving one dead and half a dozen people critically hurt. It's 7:07.
Ever since the year of 31, we brought value home to stay. We help folks like you to get the job done and make a dollar go a long, long way. To improve your home, to make your garden grow, Orchard is the right place to go for the right item at the right price right now. Choose Orchard.
There's Seventh Heaven, Hamburger Heaven, and Heaven's Gate. But have you ever heard of Hardware Heaven? Well, that's what a lot of folks call Orchard, because we stock over 50,000 items. You can find anything you need for fixing up your home. All sorts of hardware, from gate latches, hinges, and nails, to electrical wire, paint, plumbing fixtures, and faucets. Orchard Supply Hardware. Heavenly selection at down-to-earth prices.
For the right item at the right price right now. Choose Orchard.
KCBS News Time, 7:09. Back to the World News Roundup.
A judge will determine today whether some 6,000 Temple University students will have anything to show for the fall semester. Geza Sklaroff reports from Philadelphia.
Since the beginning of the fall semester, professors at Philadelphia's Temple University have been on strike. Administrators say without a back-to-work order, most classes will be canceled today. Students are upset.
They've used every tactic they possibly could. I've never seen such a dirty fight in my life.
I feel confused. I feel angry. I just want to go back to class.
The strike is killing me. I have 2 classes out of 5. And if everything doesn't go like this, I'm going to lose all my financial aid and everything. I don't have nothing to do next semester.
I don't understand what's going on at a negotiation table or what's going on anywhere. All I know is I'm not getting my education.
The university says unless classes begin today for all of its 30,000 students, it'll be impossible to make up for lost time. Geza Sklaroff for CBS News, Philadelphia.
The U.S. Senate is all but certain to confirm New Hampshire's David Souter this afternoon as a Supreme Court justice. He's expected to be sworn in on Thursday. Police in northwest Mexico shot down a plane being flown by drug traffickers and confiscated 1,400 pounds of cocaine. The plane plunged into the sea, but 3 men on board were rescued and arrested. Former Greek Prime Minister Andreas Papandreou was rushed to the hospital early today. Heart problems. It's 10 past the hour.
Winter water rationing could become a rule in the South Bay.
San Francisco cops not too pleased with their chief's suggestion that they extend their work week.
And the city of Berkeley pays tribute to those held hostage for 7 hours last week. It's 7:10 at KCBS News Radio 74. Good morning. I'm Valerie Coleman.
And good morning. I'm Al Hart. And here comes Bob Hallman in the Air Force with KCBS traffic and weather together. Bob?
All right, San Jose Police on the scene of an accident at O'Toole and Paragon Drive, San Jose area. Southbound 101, very heavy from Whipple Avenue to Woodside Road, then slow and go from Willow Road to University Avenue. Let's go to KCBS Sky 3, Scott Lettieri.
And we're over the Nimitz Freeway in the Oakland area right now. Looks good as you make your way up towards 980. That transition, no problems to 580. 580 a little bit thick as you head toward the upper deck of the Bay Bridge. The wait at the toll plaza now extends almost to the Oakland Army Base overcrossing.
Area weather forecast, clear skies, very warm temperatures, just few patches of fog, northerly winds this afternoon, even warmer tomorrow. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
KCBS News Time, 7:11.
Water rationing during the winter months. It's never happened before in Santa Clara Valley, but as we hear from News Radio's Jim Taylor, who is on the KCBS Newsline, Jim, I understand that it could in fact become a reality today?
That's exactly right, Valerie. The mandatory 20% water use cutback we're currently operating under here is slated to end October 31st. But today, the staff of the Santa Clara Valley Water District is going to recommend to the board, please continue that rationing through the winter. The board of directors, in fact, could make a decision today, a decision that could have a dramatic effect on South Bay lifestyle. It's much harder to cut back in the winter months, if you think about it, because there isn't really the amount of outdoor watering going on. And so further cutbacks will have to be made indoors, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, in the laundry room. For the record, the National Weather Service 90-day forecast calls for warm, dry conditions. In the Santa Clara County Bureau, Jim Taylor, KCBS News Radio.
In San Francisco, police are shooting holes through a proposal by the police chief to eliminate the 4-day work week. On the Newsline is our reporter George Harris with this story. George?
Within the past hour, I spoke with a couple of officers just getting off the overnight shift, and they told me that any way you slice it, 5 days, 4 days, whatever, the number of hours per pay period will be the same. But they say a 4-day work week is preferable.
If I work in the extra 2 hours a day, it affords us bigger chunks of days off in between our shifts.
Police Chief Jordan says a study shows that a 5-day work week would have 71% of the force working at the same time, compared to 57% working at the same time on a 4-day work week. Beat officers question that figure, and they're miffed that they're finding out about the chief's plan by word of mouth or by reading it in the newspaper. In San Francisco, George Harris, KCBS News Radio.
KCBS News Time, 7:13. The governor has vetoed a bill that would have pumped nearly $80 million into Oakland public schools over the next decade. And that has school officials and the author, Assemblyman Tom Bates of Berkeley, pretty angry. The bill would have helped integrate the district and provide better programs for poor minority students. Bates intends to reintroduce it when the legislature reconvenes in December. A 2-month-old boy has been placed in a foster home after apparently being abandoned by his mother. The woman's roommate telephoned authorities after finding the child at home in Castro Valley with a note simply saying the mother couldn't cope with him any longer and had left the Bay Area. KCBS News Time, 7:14.
If you've been thinking about a home equity line, Shearson Lehman Mortgage is offering one of the best programs in the marketplace today, Prime Only. If you haven't heard about Prime Only yet, why not call 1-800-US-PRIME? Consider the features of Prime Only. First of all, unlike most lenders who charge you an interest rate over prime for their equity line, Shearson Lehman Mortgage doesn't charge anything over prime. You heard it right. Not Prime Plus 1, not Prime Plus 2, but Prime Only for the life of the loan. Most important of all, with Prime Only, you may be able to borrow from $35,000 to $1 million, and you may draw down and repay your credit line with no prepayment penalty. So if you're interested in a home equity line, remember that Shearson Lehman Mortgage doesn't charge anything over prime. That's nothing over prime. To find out more about Prime Only, call 1-800-US-PRIME. That's 1-800-US-PRIME. Prime Only. Only from Shearson Lehman Mortgage, a broker lender. APR of 10%.
KCBS News Time, 7:15. KCBS News Radio 74. Good morning. It's the Tuesday News Watch, and we have more on these stories.
The city of Berkeley is investigating gunman Mehrdad Dashti's relationship with the city's mental health clinic.
Mayor Art Agnew says his city is in great shape, but a lot of San Franciscans beg to differ.
East and West Germany are busy preparing for their reunification today, and KCBS newsman Peter Laufer is on hand in Berlin for the event, and we'll hear from him within the half hour.
We're going to hear from Hal Ramey now. Our KCBS sports director is here on the KCBS Sports Line. And a pretty good game last night on TV and radio.
Sure good. That's right, Al. For the Seahawks, I know you listened right here on KCBS.
I certainly
know you
did.
did.
Yes.
And the Seahawks are happy you did because they finally won, beating the Bengals 31-16. You can turn the sound down on the TV and listen.
That's exactly what I did.
Hank Stram was really fun to listen to.
Oh, it was great.
Anyway, the Seahawks win at 31-16. Dave Craig threw for 2 scores. Derek Fenner scored 3 times. Sam Weiss suffered his first loss, but didn't sound like he was going to lose a lot of sleep about it.
We had one of those nights. The good football teams, and we're one of them, accept it, and you handle it, and you go right on. And next week, it's the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll play harder and better, and we won't make the same mistakes again. We might make some more, but we won't make those same mistakes.
Well, the Niners hope they don't against the Rams anyway. And speaking of the Niners, they've got Mike Waller on injured reserve today. Mike broke the ring finger on his left hand 2 weeks ago. He'll miss 2 more games now. Coach George Seifert saying
it's something that he would have to play in a cumbersome protective device that would, hinder his effectiveness. And Mike, the type of guy that Mike is, he would still play and give us the best shot, but it's not in the best interest for him over the long range. This will give him a full opportunity to heal.
Better news regarding wide receiver John Taylor. He may be ready for the Houston game this coming Sunday. In baseball, the Red Sox clinch a tie in the East. They beat the White Sox 4-3, while the Blue Jays were losing to the Orioles 6-3. Angels shut out the A's and Dave Stewart 2-0 behind rookie Joe Gray, and the Braves beat the Giants 5-3. That is the KCBS Sports Line. I'm Hal Ramey.
We have sports at 15 and 45 on KCBS News Radio 74. It's 7:17 and KCBS Traffic and Weather sponsored by your Northern California Honda dealers. Here's Big Bob.
All right, we have an accident in Santa Clara County on the Bayshore Freeway. KCBS Sky 1 run survey.
This accident, Bob, is northbound 101 right around the Montague Expressway. Traffic backed up all the way to Alum Rock right now. And before you even get there, watch for some very slow traffic from the Capitol Expressway on out to Tully.
All right, KCBS Sky 2, Debbie Kennedy, Antioch, Pittsburgh area.
Westbound to Highway 4 thickens up between 8th Street and Summersville Road. You find more congested between Railroad Avenue and Bailey Road as you head for the Willow Pass.
Right to the East Shore Freeway, KCBS Sky 3, Maturi.
And we're coming up on an accident westbound at San Pablo Dam Road. Emergency vehicles and a couple of vehicles now on the shoulder. However, traffic extremely heavy out of Hercules. Stop and go from Pinole Valley Road to the scene of the accident. Then from there, pockets all the way to University Avenue in Berkeley.
Reminder, we've had problems since 1:30 this morning, actually. An overturned tanker loaded with grape juice northbound on the Lakeville Highway. Just north of Highway 37 is closed this morning until at least 8 o'clock. CHP must offload the vehicle then to bring it upright. When they do that, they'll have to shut down traffic in both directions.
Made my obligatory call home to let the children know what Uncle Robert says the weather will be. He said it's going to be warm, so dress cool.
Bordering on hot in some areas as we have a north wind and offshore flow. Temperatures will be in the 70s and 80s. Many readings near 90 degrees. And it looks like this will hold together for another day of quite warm weather tomorrow through the entire area.
Right now, 56 degrees in San Francisco and San Rafael. It's 60 degrees in Oakland this morning, 57 in Redwood City and San Jose. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
KCBS News Time, 7:18.
Hi, Bill Armentrout with another Northern California Honda owner. Sir, why do you drive a Honda?
Well, I've been a sports fan for many years.
Yes.
Specifically, football fan.
The Honda, sir. We're talking Honda here.
I was back a winner.
A winner.
A winner. You got your winningest team right here, team of the decade. That's why I live here.
And that's connected with the Honda.
Yes, it is. I used to live in Green Bay and later Pittsburgh.
And your Honda?
Your Honda is your winner. The Accord's the top seller. It's like the feeling of a pass to the corner with no time left. I put it up, you run under it. That's all she wrote. Film at 11, buddy.
And driving another car then would be akin to, say, living in Atlanta.
I don't follow you there.
Well, it seemed to me you were comparing your car to the football teams in the places where you live.
Well, if I compared my car to a football team, it wouldn't make any sense. Listen, you're reading a lot of stuff into this. You know, people read competition nowadays into just about
there you have it, folks. Football fan drives Honda because the Accord is popular.
You just got to lighten up.
Once again, is Honda the perfect car for Northern California or what? Drive one today at your Northern California Honda dealer.
KCBS News Time, 7:19.
I'm outside a World Savings branch talking to World customers about their 4-month T-bill accounts.
Here's what they're saying about its high rate and safety.
What I like about the T-bill is it's a great rate and it's a short term, and I can keep my eye on my money.
What good is a really good rate if you don't have safety? And at World, you get both.
Well, I have a 4-month T-bill, and it pays more than my 6-month T-bill with the U.S. government.
How do you feel about that?
Great.
What about the reputation of World Savings?
Tops, none better.
Did you know that the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times call World one of the best managed institutions in the country?
I think that the Wall Street Journal is about the best endorsement you can get for a financial institution.
Well, there you have it. For great rates and complete safety, get a World 4-month T-bill today.
World's 4-month T-bill rate is a high 8.01% yield, 8.34%, $5,000 minimum, penalty for early withdrawal, FDIC insured, rate subject to change.
KCBS News Time, 7:20.
In an attempt to shed some light on Mehrdad Dashti's shooting rampage at a Berkeley bar last week, the city is investigating his relationship with Berkeley's mental health clinic. Up until now, city officials, citing state confidentiality laws, have declined to say whether Dashti had been a patient at the city's mental health clinic. However, there have been reports that Dashti was a regular patient there because he kept hearing voices in his head.
A ceremony honoring those held hostage in Henry's Bar last week was held late yesterday afternoon at the beautiful faculty glade at the University of California campus. KCBS reporter Bob Safford was there.
As the Cal Band played the ballad Even Now, many eyes that had simply looked sad suddenly erupted into tears. Among the speakers was UC President David Gardner, who said it is not enough for the living just to remember.
We must also recommit ourselves to one another within our company and community.
Student body president Bonaparte Liu, who never looked at his printed speech but instead spoke from the heart, carried forward that theme.
I know that we have the strength and the resources and the support to come together and rebuild what has been, unfortunately, taken apart in the last few days, in the last few weeks.
Then, after singing their alma mater, Hail to California, the crowd went its way, some slowly walking off, others gathering quietly to talk after the ceremony. Bob Safford, KCBS News Radio.
Friends and family of John Sheehy gathered in Lafayette for his funeral yesterday morning. The 22-year-old was the only student who died during the siege. President Bush and his wife also sent their condolences to the family.
KCBS News Time, 7:22. Thousands of items are arriving for service members in Saudi Arabia, but defense officials say stay away from food items and reading materials. Let's get an explanation and more in this story from News Radio's Lois Melkonian in our newsroom.
Valerie, the Defense Logistics Hotline is offering free lists of acceptable items for service members. And what do they want?
Sets and sports videotapes and radios and batteries and little portable recorders and players. They're requesting board games.
Pat Miller says through the hotline, people can send these goods to a New York address and the Defense Department will forward them overseas. The process could take more than a month, and that's why people are being asked to avoid food.
Please, no baked goods. We've had to discourage a wonderful lady from Maine who wanted to give 3,000 lobsters on ice.
And stay away from reading materials because the Saudis are rejecting anything contrary to Islam. The hotline is very busy these days, and those getting through are from all walks of life.
People on limited income, retired people who just feel, I was in the World War II, and it's very hard being away from your family. What can we do for these people?
From the newsroom, Lois Melkonian, KCBS News Radio.
KCBS News Time, 7:23. Alameda County health officials concerned because fewer than 40% of the county's poor children get the free checkups they're entitled to. But parents say it's because the county has done so little to let people know about the free checkups available through the Child Health and Disability Prevention Program. For its part, the county did hire 3 outreach workers in March, 2 of whom speak Spanish to let people know about the program. But brochures in other languages aren't due back from the printer until next week. Parents are also encouraged, however, to call 268-2635 for more information about the program. KCBS News Time, 7:24. And in 1 minute, a financial update sponsored by Xerox.
Behind every great accomplishment, there's always a document, and behind each document are the people who put it together. the paralegals and secretaries, the draftsmen and production managers. They may not grab the headline, but without them, it wouldn't have happened. Xerox is proud to provide the technology that helps the people who put it together. Copying, faxing, scanning, publishing. Xerox, the document company.
KCBS News Time, 7:25. Let's chase the market as we go to the Pacific Stock Exchange. Don Wiegand is here to fill us in. Don?
Thank you, Al. Well, we're pulling back. We're up 16 now, folks, at 25.31, 57 million. The winners lead almost 10-3. The S&P 500 up 2.5, and the Financial News Composite next door is up about 1.25. Now, they've opened the crude oil in New York City, November crude, Texas crude, $36.15 a barrel. That's down $1. Stocks in Japan rose 2,670 points, 13%, the biggest one-day advance there ever. You know, I was thinking about this a couple of minutes ago. You take a money manager, if he'd been lucky enough to buy on this rally and took a 13% profit out of the market, he could just leave. That's it. That's his year. If you can do 13% in a year, I'll be either on the island of Kauai boating, or at the Kona Country Club. All right. Tandem Computers and Texas Instruments in a developmental pact. Phoenix American Center fell $5 leverage buyout by the chairman at the Pacific Stock Exchange, where the blue chips are up 14. Down Wiegand. KCBS News Radio 74.
This report sponsored by Xerox. Financial News at 25 and 55 on KCBS.
Oh, Al, do you plan on being in line at Bass Tickets today?
Well, I hadn't planned on it.
You may want to. I mean, you're a baseball fan, and it's bound to be a very busy day for Bass because the tickets for the American League Championship playoffs and, of course, the possible World Series will go on sale. Tickets to see the A's can only be purchased through Bass. They'll cost $20 to $30 for a playoff game on October 9th, 10th, or 11th, and $25 to $50 for a World Series ticket on the 19th, 20th, and 21st. The only way to do it, Mr. Hart, is to stand in line.
I think the problem is that you need money for those tickets, don't you? Well, the limit for filing a claim in small claims court going up from $2,000 to $5,000. But thanks to a bill signed yesterday by Governor Duke Majan, the bill authored by San Mateo Assemblyman Ted Limpert, who said it will assure that more people have recourse to the legal system to resolve disputes. KCBS News Time, 7:27. All right. Let's resolve a few problems on the freeway here. Traffic and weather together. Here's Big Bob.
All right, we did have an accident reported on the shoulder westbound 80 west of San Pablo Dam Road. We're going to go right now to 280 downtown San Jose. KCBS Sky 1, Ron Survey.
And a whole bunch of stop and go waiting for you. Northbound 280 beginning right around Ray Street, all the way out to the 880 merge. Then again from just about Saratoga Avenue, you're going to find very slow traffic on out to Wolf Road.
680 through the Concord and Walnut Creek area. KCBS Sky 2, Debbie Kennedy.
And we have more of that stop and go stuff out here southbound 680 between Concord and Walnut Creek, beginning at just about Gregory Lane, all the way down to 24.
And KCBS Sky 3, Scott Lettieri, covering Northern Marin.
And we're coming up on that problem at Lakeville Road and Highway 37, an accident that has the northbound lanes of Lakeville Road closed off to traffic coming west on Highway 37, so you're going to want to have to go over to Highway 101. Once you get there, heavy stop and go traffic southbound through Novato from Roland Boulevard down to Alameda Del Prado.
A couple of stalls really have jammed up westbound 24 from the Caldecott back into the Orinda area. We had a stalled truck carrying cars earlier, and then another stall reported back toward the Lafayette area. And as far as the weather goes, it should be sunny and quite warm in the Bay Area, 70s and 80s. Quite common and a little bit warmer tomorrow. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
Ever since the year of 31, we brought value home to stay. We help folks like you to get the job done and make a dollar go a long, long way. To improve your home, to make your garden grow, Orchard is the right place to go for the right item at the right price right now. Choose Orchard.
There's Seventh Heaven, Hamburger Heaven, and Heaven's Gate. But have you ever heard of Hardware Heaven? Well, that's what a lot of folks call Orchard. Because we stock over 50,000 items, you can find anything you need for fixing up your home. All sorts of hardware, from gate latches, hinges, and nails, to electrical wire, paint, plumbing fixtures, and faucets. Orchard Supply Hardware. Heavenly selection at down-to-earth prices.
For the right item at the right price right now. Choose
tortured.
KCBS News Time, 7:30.
There are two basic ways you can fly to Paris. One way involves at least one stop, which could mean changing planes, changing terminals, or even changing airports. The other way merely involves changing your airline to the new combined services of UTA French Airlines and Air France, with the only non-stops from San Francisco to Paris. 4 flights a week that get you there up to a full 4 hours faster than on any other airline. All the while enjoying classic French service born of over 50 years' experience in the air. San Francisco to Paris. The only non-stop flights are on UTA French Airlines, a member of Groupe Air France. For reservations, call your travel agent or 1-800-2-FRANCE. Flights eligible for credit on mileage programs with United and U.S. Air.
Where the news watch never stops. KCBS News Radio 74.
Tuesday News Watch, October 2nd, 1990. We're following these stories.
News Radio's Peter Laufer is in Germany for what's being billed as the party of the century. He has a report on the final hours leading up to the reunification.
On the next Osgood File, Charlie talks about what President Bush said at the United Nations.
Good morning. I'm Valerie Coleman.
And good morning. I'm Al Hart. It's 7:31.
CBS News Update. I'm Mike Pulsifer. Saudi Arabian sources are quoted as saying 400,000 have been committed to the operation in Kuwait. Iraq is said to have an army of 1 million soldiers. The carrier Independence is in the Persian Gulf, unusual because the relatively narrow waterway is not an easy place in which to maneuver a ship of that size. But retired General George Christ, CBS News military consultant, rejects the idea the Independence is now an easy target for an attack by Iraq.
Between that ship and those Iraqis is an Aegis cruiser, which is one of the finest air defense ships in the world, along with a number of other ships, plus she'd have her own aircraft up. And there also is the entire AWACS, F-15s, and air support from the Air Force, which is also flying. So it would be difficult for them to get down to them.
And Christ says the Independence's aircraft can now reach targets in Iraq and Kuwait without refueling. The Senate is debating a resolution expressing support for President Bush's Gulf policy. Edward Kennedy of Massachusetts is against it, saying yesterday it amounts to a blank check for military action. A fellow Democrat, Majority Leader George Mitchell, disagrees with Kennedy.
This resolution is not a blank check. This resolution is not a Gulf of Tonkin resolution,
which cleared the way for escalation of U.S. involvement in Vietnam. The Washington Post has talked with some of the U.S. hostages held in Iraq. It quotes one as saying his loss of freedom is like hearing music in the distance, but never being able to hear the symphony. CBS News Update. I'm Mike Pulsifer, CBS News, New York.
Word is just being received that a French frigate off the coast of Djibouti fired today across the bow of a North Korean merchant ship, one that refused to stop for inspection. This inspection, of course, in compliance with the UN trade embargo against Iraq. Navy sources in Paris said that the frigate was patrolling a strait that connects the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden near the Arabian Sea. That initially it gave a verbal warning, then fired blank warning shots across the cargo ship. We will continue to follow the story for you and bring you more information as to really what this means, if anything, in the continuing crisis in the Middle East.
KCBS News Time, 7:33. In the State of the City address by San Francisco Mayor Art Agnos yesterday, he said things are in good shape, but not everybody agrees. The story from KCBS News Radio's Mike Sugarman.
Agnos, in his words, thinks the city is doing terrific. His State of the City address upbeat.
I think the city is in great state.
But not for all. Not for Jacqueline Landry, a single mother of 2, worried about affordable housing.
The reason where I live it's affordable is because I've been there for 9 years. Now, if I decide to move today, no, it would not be reasonable. I would move out the city.
And not for Guadalupe Satarez, who can't save enough for a place of her own and is forced to live on the street or in a city shelter.
It's just that a lot of people, they cannot get into apartments or rooming houses because you have to pay too much deposit to get in. That means you have to be out in the street at least 2 months before you can move into a place.
The State of the City depends on where you sit or where you sleep. In San Francisco, I'm Mike Sugarman, KCBS News Radio.
KCBS News Time, 7:34.
Margarine has been in the news recently. A new study reported in the New England Medical Journal says that hydrogenated oils contains trans fatty acid, which can actually raise LDL cholesterol. I'm Bob Harris for Heartbeat Foods, and I'd like to remind you that Heartbeat corn oil spread contains up to 90% less trans fatty acid than regular margarine. And compared to the so-called light spreads and diet margarines, Heartbeat has 1/2 the fat and calories, half of Fleischmann's Extra Light, half of Weight Watchers, half of any light brand. And Heartbeat contains the very lowest trans fats. Look at Heartbeat's nutrition information and see why 25-calorie Heartbeat spread is more important than ever before. Enjoy the good taste and good nutrition of Heartbeat spread, Heartbeat American slices, reduced calorie mayonnaise, and Heartbeat canola oil.
Back to the wall. Gone. Home run. Hits the fair screen. And it's a home run, the second of the game for Ricky Henderson.
Hear both the American and National League playoffs and the World Series on KCBS News Radio 74.
National League playoffs start Thursday at 5:07.
KCBS News Time is 7:36 and time for the Osgood File. And this report sponsored in part by Sir Speedy, the business printer, and the National Potato Board. And we'll get to that in just a moment as soon as we find out what's going on with traffic, because Bob Hallman is here with a full report. Traffic and weather together. Big Bob, what are you doing?
That problem up on the Lakeville Highway may stay around longer than 8 o'clock, Al. The overturned tanker truck that is northbound Lakeville Highway that's affected just north of Highway 37. However, they'll have to close southbound down also when they actually get that vehicle unloaded and start to haul it back up on its wheels. Let's go to KCBS Sky 2, Debbie Kennedy.
And it was a good morning for you to have taken your BART, please, this morning. A stalled car carrier westbound 24 east of the Caldecott Tunnel. Now, this is on the shoulder right now, but has really racked up the commute westbound 24 bumper to bumper from the Walnut Creek interchange out to the Caldecott.
And KCBS Sky 3, Scott Letterio over Marin County.
Southern Marin in good shape, southbound 101 at the limit from the 580 interchange in San Rafael all the way to the Waldo grade.
And there's a spill of white powder. Actually, 2 bags broke in the middle lane of northbound 880 south of 5th Avenue in Oakland. They don't really expect it's any kind of a problem material. Bay Area weather forecast, sunny skies and with easterly to northeasterly winds. Temperatures will be hot. It's keeping the fog away from the coast. Should be even a little warmer tomorrow. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
KCBS News Time, 7:37.
Al, I mentioned a little bit earlier for you to line up if you wanted tickets for the A's games. You cannot line up. I stand corrected. Thank you, Andy. Andy Dolich from the A's calling to say, Valerie, just make sure people don't think you can get in any lines you can't. The only line that you can get on is the phone line to Bass, and we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. So if you want tickets for the Oakland A's, call Bass. It's the only way to get them.
All right, and we thank you for that. I'd be out there standing somewhere.
You said you wouldn't do it because you had no money.
KCBS News Time, 7:37. And now time for the Osgood File, sponsored in part by Sir Speedy, the business printer, and the National Potato Board. Here's Charlie.
When a president of the United States makes a major address to the United Nations at such a time as this, his words must be carefully weighed, because all over the world those words are being sifted by people with different, competing, and sometimes conflicting interests. It's not just what he comes right out and says, it's what he doesn't say, the door he seems to leave open. Not only the overt, but the implied, the inferred that counts. What President Bush said yesterday was heard and felt from Wall Street to the Persian Gulf. Listen.
In the aftermath of Iraq's unconditional departure from Kuwait, I truly believe there may be opportunities for Iraq and Kuwait to settle their differences permanently, and for all the states and the peoples of the region to settle the conflicts that divides the Arabs from Israel.
That's what he said. But what was he saying? Stand by.
Well, why don't we get the shareholders meeting going with a song, okay? Me and my shadow.
Have you ever had to do a song and dance because your printer made your big presentation unpresentable? Talk to Sir Speedy. We'll help you get the right layout, the right type, the right colors, on the money and on time. And when the job looks good, you look good. And as a matter of fact, so do we. Sir Speedy, the business printers.
Here we go now.
Well,
Welcome to our new talk show, Business or Blunder. Today's guest is the founder of
Potatoria.
What is Potatoria?
We're going to deliver fresh, steaming potatoes to people's homes.
Uh-huh. Don't they take a long time?
Minutes in the microwave, Jackie.
Why can't people just make their own?
Patents. That's it. I've got patents on potato stuffing.
You mean you patented broccoli and cheese sauce?
Right.
How about sour cream and salsa?
Patent pending, Jackie.
Potatoes, America's favorite vegetable, sponsored by the National Potato Board.
It was an important speech at an important time, and President Bush had important things to say. First and foremost, Iraq has to get out of Kuwait. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing happens until then. But then,
in the aftermath of Iraq's unconditional departure from Kuwait, I truly believe there may be opportunities for Iraq and Kuwait to settle their differences permanently.
So it's acknowledged that Iraq and Kuwait have differences. Iraq was claiming a couple of offshore Kuwaiti islands. Maybe there's room there for discussion, Mr. Bush seemed to be saying. Settlement could mean Iraq might get something out of all this. It needn't be a total loss. Is that what he was saying? And then something that certainly raised eyebrows in Israel.
And for all the states and the peoples of the region to settle the conflicts that divides the Arabs from Israel.
Was this linkage of some sort? Was it a new policy or the hint of a new policy? Later, Mr. Bush would say, oh, it was nothing, really.
You're reading too much into this. There's not any nuance to this that you think you might be missing.
I know that you thought that you knew what I meant when you heard me say what I said, but I never meant to say what you thought I said, and I certainly didn't mean what you thought I meant. The Osgood File. Charles Osgood, CBS News.
More from Charlie coming up an hour from now on KCBS News Radio 74. KCBS News Time, 7:40.
First Alliance Mortgage.
When you're a homeowner, there's just no telling when you're going to need extra money in a hurry. Introducing the new 72-hour home equity loan from First Alliance Mortgage. If you need to pay off your bills, do home improvements, refinance, or just need extra cash, then call First Alliance today at 1-800-695-6900. They'll approve your loan in just 72 hours, and you'll have the money in your hands in 10 to 12 working days with verified equity and income. Plus, all First Alliance loans feature low fixed rates, easy terms, tax advantages, a free home appraisal, and now 72-hour approval. Even if you're self-employed, retired, or have had credit problems, you'll have no problem at First Alliance. Call 1-800-695-6900 and get $6,000 to $100,000 for any purpose. That's 1-800-695-6900. Ask for Steve Kent, First Alliance Mortgage.
KCBS News Time, 7:41.
Following is a paid political announcement.
Why do people concerned with law enforcement throughout California oppose Proposition 134? Because the proposition promoters tried to deceive them, just as they're trying to deceive California voters. Listen to Mike Carey of the California Council of Police and Sheriffs.
At first, I thought Proposition 134 was a great idea. And why not? It promised more than $100 million to law enforcement. But I'm trained to examine the evidence, so I read the small print. And it turns out that most of that money can be given to people who have nothing to do with law enforcement. That's bait and switch. The California Council of Police and Sheriffs urge you to vote 134 no.
Proposition 134 is not what it claims. Join the California Council of Police and Sheriffs and stop this deceptive proposition. Vote 134 no.
Paid for by taxpayers for common sense with major funding from the alcohol beverage industry and the Beer Institute.
KCBS News Time, 7:43, and this portion of KCBS News sponsored by Air Canada.
You can bet that Germany is counting down the hours before its reunification. The intellectuals who forced the unification issue say that they are not getting any recognition. Let's get details on this part of the story from News Radio's Peter Laufer with a report from Berlin.
As the East Germans disappear into a united Germany, those revolutionaries who were on the front lines facing the possibility, the probability of being jailed or shot for their protests are being left far behind. Neither East nor West Germans are doing much to acknowledge the role these courageous intellectuals played in forcing the authoritarian communist regime out of power. Instead, Chancellor Kohl and his right-of-center political party, the Christian Democrats, are seizing credit for the unification, with Kohl leading the parade, knowing he'll now go down in history as the chancellor who brought Germany together, ended the occupation of Berlin, and restored full sovereignty to this country. Most East Germans abandoned the brave East German revolutionaries for the West German capitalistic politicians for one simple reason: money. They've been seduced after 45 years of doing without by the glitter of the West German society, and they're ready to forget political philosophy in favor of the chance to get relatively rich relatively quickly. The question that the unification ceremonies leave open is, will they get rich after their nation is consumed by West Germany, or will they become second-class citizens of a united Germany's poor and neglected eastern province? In Berlin, Peter Laufer, KCBS News Radio.
KCBS News Time, 7:44.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Do you know where most of the cities are in Canada?
Well, I've lived there 60-some years.
Oh, great. This business trip is taking me everywhere from Toronto to Nanaimo.
I'll show you. There's a map here in the En Route magazine. See, there's Toronto.
Yeah?
Way over here is Nanaimo, and there's Montreal.
Going there.
Edmonton.
Right. Then I go back to Toronto, then on to Zagreb.
Air Canada to Canada. Convenient non-stops, coast-to-coast network, plus Europe and the Far East. It's the international way to cross the border.
Zagreb. Let's see. Maybe it's in the Yukon.
Yugoslavia.
Ooh, that's not in Canada.
World-class, worldwide Air Canada.
Beginning November 1st, save up to 68% on Air Canada's full-fare round-trip coach fare to Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary, or Edmonton. Advance purchase and ticketing required. Seats are limited and other conditions apply. Call your travel agent or Air Canada.
KCBS News Radio 74, the Tuesday News Watch. Coming up, more on these stories.
It could be weeks before the exact cause of a suspected mass food poisoning is known in Chicago. As many as 155 people attending a hardware company convention were treated at various hospitals.
A baby boy has been placed in a foster home after his mother left a note saying she was abandoning him.
Computer chips were the target of a daring group of robbers at a Fremont electronics firm last night.
KCBS News Time, 7:45. Al Ramey's here on the KCBS Sports Line. What do you have for us, Al?
Well, we have the Red Sox clinching a tie in the AL East, Al. Boston beating the White Sox 4-3 as Dwight Evans singled home the winning run in the bottom of the eighth, and left fielder Mike Greenwell says they're feeling good.
Two-game lead with 2 games left is a lot better than a one-game lead with 2 left, because anything can happen. Anybody can lose a couple in a row, and anybody can win a couple in a row. So it makes it a lot easier for us.
Boston now is 1-5 of its last 6 to open the 2-game lead, while Toronto has dropped 5 of 6. Last night it was 6-3 in Baltimore. A year ago, the Blue Jays turned out the lights on the Orioles in the final series, and the Birds' Mike Devereaux will be happy to return the favor.
It was a lot of fun. They spoiled it for us last year, and then also the last time we were up in Toronto, they beat us 3 out of 4 games, all in the 9th inning. So, we had a little bit of revenge.
Now they'll try to knock them completely out tonight. At the Coliseum, the Angels shut out the A's 2-0. Rookie Joe Gray and Brian Harvey combining for a 3-hitter to outpitch Dave Stewart, who scattered 11 hits pretty effectively but failed to win his 23rd. The Braves topped the Giants 5-3. Francisco Cabrera's 3-run homer made the difference there, and the Giants fall to 3rd place, a game back of the Dodgers, who beat the Padres 2-1. Monday Night Football, it was the Seahawks 31-16 over the Bengals. Seattle's first win, Cincinnati's first defeat. Dave Craig threw for 2 touchdowns. Derek Fenner scored 3 more. And a new locker room furor is Cincy coach Sam Weish barred female reporter Denise Tom of USA Today from the Bengals locker room. Sam hasn't done anything like that before, but in view of what happened in New England, you can bet he'll hear from the commissioner today. That is the KCBS Sports Line. I'm Hal Ramey.
Sports at 15 and 45 on KCBS News Radio 74.
Claude Akins for Amco Transmissions.
If your car develops transmission trouble and you've got an extended warranty, do you have to go back to your dealer to get the work done? Most people would say yes, but I've got news for you. You've probably got a choice. Your AMCO Center honors most extended warranties, new cars and used cars. So if your transmission is making funny noises, if you spot a telltale leak, or if the gears are slipping, take your car to the people trained and equipped to perform that extended warranty service. AMCO Center's mechanics will give your car's transmission the most complete diagnostic checkup in the industry. And with over 720 AMCO centers coast to coast, prompt expert service is never far away. Make sure you get the best service your extended warranty entitles you to. Bring your car's transmission to AMCO.
Amco, AA, MCO.
No matter where you live in the Bay Area, there's an AMCO specialist near you. Why go anywhere else? AMCO, AA, MCO.
7:49, time for KCBS traffic and weather together. Here's Robert.
All right, northbound 101, slow and go from Capital Expressway up to Tully Road in San Jose and over 101, KCBS Sky 1. Ron Survey.
We're over the peninsula. We're southbound 101 bunching up right around Marsh. Even a little bit before that, all the way out to University Avenue where some roadwork's getting going in the center divide. Sluggish again through the Mountain View area.
San Ramon Valley, KCBS Sky 2, Debbie Kennedy.
We're doing quite well out here. Thank you very much. North and southbound 680 through the San Ramon Valley. You will find a little bit of congestion as you head up to the Walnut Creek interchange northbound from right around Regular Road.
And KCBS Sky 3, Scott Lettieri over San Francisco.
Nothing really out of the ordinary here. Northbound James Lick, stop and go from 3rd Street to Hospital Curve. Off the upper deck, you'll slow down a bit on the Skyway. Westbound between 9th Street and the Central Merge and southbound Central Freeway. Getting to 101, slow and go from Mission Van Ness.
And Interstate 5 northbound has been reopened in the Stockton area. Northbound had been closed because of a major accident there around 8 Mile Road between there and Highway 12. The Bay Area weather forecast offshore flow. That means hot weather for the San Francisco Bay Area. 70s and 80s, some 90s in the warmest valleys. Should be even warmer tomorrow. Fire danger is liable to go up a bit too because of the dry northerly or easterly winds. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
KCBS News Time, 7:50.
A Fremont electronics firm was the scene of a daring armed robbery last night. On the KCBS Newsline now is News Radio's Jim Taylor, who says computer chips were the target of the 6 gunmen. Jim?
This is happening a lot more down here, Valerie. It was at about 7 o'clock last night. A half-dozen armed Asian men in business suits walked into the Songtech warehouse on Grimmer Boulevard in Fremont. The handful of workers were tied up with duct tape, and loads of computer chips were systematically removed. This is a growing crime in Fremont. Computer equipment losses there totaled nearly $2 million last year, and 3 men are currently suspects in the burglaries of some 35 computer companies in Fremont, Milpitas, and San Jose. Police do know that Vietnamese gangs are working in the South Bay, and this latest strong-arm chip robbery matches their M.O. precisely. In the Santa Clara County Bureau, Jim Taylor, KCBS News Radio.
Oakland mayoral candidate Elihu Harris says he's healthy and the issue of his fitness should not be an issue in the campaign. Harris has been plagued by persistent rumors that he is seriously ill. So he's providing written statements from 2 doctors that he's in good shape with no physical limitations that could affect his performance as mayor. KCBS News Time, 7:51.
Now, will everyone please turn to the chart on page 88?
I don't have page 88.
I have 10 of them. Does JB have the page?
JB? Boss? Oh, he fell asleep again.
I'll get his blanket.
If you'd like your business presentations to be more exciting, more impressive, more persuasive, come to Chartmasters. We can take your desktop computer graphics software displays and turn them into brilliant color slides and overheads overnight. Just get your files to us via disk or modem by 5 p.m. and we'll have your slides ready by 9 the next morning. You can depend on Chartmasters for dazzling colors.
Wow, I need my sunglasses.
Beautiful 4,000-line resolution.
That slide's prettier than the NBC Peacock.
And everything you need to make your presentation successful.
Look at old JB. He's awake.
And he's applauding.
Chartmasters, the presentation people. To order or for a free consultation, call 415-421-6591 or see our listing in the yellow pages under slides.
As the Stanford Cardinal brings college football action to KCBS, you have a chance to vote a former Stanford football and basketball player into the Pepsi Stanford Hall of Fame. And one lucky listener will win a trip for 2 to the 1991 Rose Bowl, including transportation, lodging, and tickets to the game. Stop by a participating Bay Area Roundtable Pizza Parlor and fill out a ballot and an entry form. And remember to catch all the Stanford Cardinal football action on KCBS News Radio 74.
KCBS News Time, 7:53.
San Francisco's Recreation and Park Department is at a loss to explain what's killing hundreds of fish in a lake in the city's inner Richmond district. Diane Palacio says that preliminary tests show the fish don't appear to be dying from an overuse of chemicals, as some residents initially thought.
We are waiting for the final analyses for other substances or chemicals in the water by the California Fish and Game.
Palacio says another theory that they're looking into is that an overgrowth of algae could in fact be killing the fish. When the algae dies and breaks down, it draws away much of the oxygen in the lake, which eventually would kill the fish.
With hardly a ripple, an Oakland institution has closed down. Biff's Restaurant, an all-night eatery on Broadway that opened 27 years ago, shut down yesterday. Much to the chagrin of customers, employees were also surprised as they called together at 3 o'clock Sunday and told the restaurant was closing the next day. As for the reasons, well, a spokesman says the owner, Bill Monroe, is in poor health and the restaurant isn't all that profitable anymore.
The average Soviet may not be dining on Big Mac much anymore. That's because McDonald's has doubled its prices in Moscow. Okay, the price of a Big Mac? $12.
Yipe.
The restaurant's business manager says that the company decided to mark up its prices after the Soviet government raised the price that the state pays farmers for meat and other products, thus forcing McDonald's to pay higher prices for its Soviet ingredients.
$12.
A Big Mac.
That is a Big Mac. Advocates for nursing home patients have leveled a class action lawsuit against the state of California, claiming it has refused to implement new federal requirements for stricter monitoring of drug treatments and new therapies. The suit calls for the state to step up monitoring of nursing homes. Ironically, at the same time they were hit with the lawsuit, state officials were notified by the federal government that their compliance plan fails to meet federal standards. For its part, the state insists it does comply with all the requirements, except for spending up to $600 million for documentation. And 3 families have filed suit in Santa Clara County Superior Court against a Fremont crematorium for allegedly commingling the remains of their family members. The suit alleging that employees at the Cedar Lawn Memorial Park in Legledensley mixed together remains, and in some cases, instead of putting ashes into special urns, they were put into an unmarked common pit. KCBS News Time, 7:55. A financial update coming your way, sponsored by Great Western Bank and at the Pacific Stock Exchange. Don Wiegand, Don.
Thank you, Al. Good morning, everyone. Here is your opening on UAL United Airlines now. Stand by, up 10 5/8 at 114. That's on top of about a 5-point move yesterday and 4 or 5 the day before. So you've got 20 points there on the comeback trail here in the last 3 days. Industrial's up 24, 25.40 level. 74.5 million shares have changed hands. Winners way out ahead, 11-3. Transportation's up 31.60. That's largely because of UAL. And utilities up 1.40. Now the active list. Mexico Fund, that's a mutual fund, off 7/8, 11 1/8. GE up 7/8. PepsiCo looks strong again, up 1 1/2. Silicon Valley Group of San Jose will cut the workforce by about 6%, but CEO Papkin Dertarosian says it will not affect research and development or customer support. Bonds, not much there, really. You heard about the Japanese market, of course. Things skied, biggest one-day advance ever, 13%, 2,600 points. Dollar is higher. Now gold beginning to pick up a bit, up $1.90 at 393.50 on the December, and silver up 4 cents at 475. So, in summary, blue chips up 25 at the Pacific. Don Wiegand, KCBS News Radio 74.
Financial news at 25 and 55 on KCBS. This report sponsored by Great Western Bank.
Today I've got some good news for you folks with checking accounts at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Security Pacific, and First Interstate. You can be earning higher interest at Great Western Bank. You see, of the top 5 banks in California, the one that pays the highest interest on checking is Great Western, where you could be earning up to 12% more money at Great Western month after month. Or you can just stay where you are and let your bank keep that money. But why would you do that? Besides paying you higher interest, Great Western will keep your money safe. All accounts are FDIC insured. Just contact any Great Western Bank branch or call 1-800-GW-ASK-US. That's 1-800-GW-ASK-US. You'll be glad you did, because of the 5 leading banks in town, Great Western pays the highest interest on checking.
Traffic and weather in just 1 minute.
All right, boys, let's rock and roll it.
If you're a Buddy Holly fan, your day has just arrived. It's the U.S. premiere of Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, at the Golden Gate Theater in San Francisco.
That'll be the day when I die.
Live on stage, the musical and personal story of one of the most revered figures in the history of rock and roll.
You knew, Peggy Sue, then you know why I feel without Peggy.
Plus, a recreation of Buddy's last concert, featuring the music of a few other rock legends. Like Richie Valens and the Big Bopper.
Hello, baby.
But hurry, Buddy the Musical will be in town September 15th through October 14th, 4 weeks only.
All my love, all of my kissing.
miss it. Tickets available at Ticketron or call 415-243-9001 now to see Buddy at the Golden Gate Theater.
First, let's see Bob Holman with KCBS Traffic and Weather. Bob?
Not exactly sure what the bicyclist is doing there, but we have an injury accident, westbound 237 to southbound 85. Injury accident, stall northbound 17 at the Cats, and KCBS Sky 1 on Servio to San Mateo Bridge.
If you're heading for the San Mateo Bridge, 92 is backed up now to the Interpretive Center, making your way out to the toll plaza.
Sonol area, KCBS Sky 2, Debbie Kennedy.
A little bit of improvement, but still southbound 680 is slowing south of Castlewood down to Andrade Road.
Peninsula, KCBS Sky 3, Scott Lettieri.
Southbound 101 north of Broadway in Burlingame is stalled in the number 2 lane, backed up solid from the SFO exit.
Church Leave weather today, very warm, 70s and 80s around the bay, even warmer tomorrow with an offshore flow. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on KCBS News Radio 74.
For Tuesday, October 2nd, 1990, we're following these stories.
Oakland schools are reeling after the governor vetoed a bill that would have sent $80 million its way.
4 drought years are taking their toll in the Santa Clara Valley, which is now seriously considering rationing water just not summer, but winter as well.
And a French warship fires warning shots at and boards a North Korean merchant vessel that may have been violating the trade embargo against Iraq. Good morning, I'm Valerie Coleman.
And good morning, I'm Al Hart. CBS News is next.
Where the news watch never stops. KCBS, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose.
News and more on 74 KCBS.
It's 8 a.m.